Good morning and happy Sabbath, everyone. I want to share with you the ministry spotlight and encourage you to do something really different for 2021. Start your own garden. I'm going to share my screen with you so I can tell you what I am going to share with you. Here we go. So, we want to sow your seed for the month of March and April. So you want to start your own garden, and here is how to do it. We are, we should probably consider starting our own garden for many different reasons. One is we may need some food. Food's kind of getting expensive. We want to reduce our expenses, and we want to share with others, maybe others who may not be as fortunate as we are. Some barriers that people kind of encounter when they say, I want to start my own garden. It's like, well, I live in an apartment. Well, that should not be a barrier, and I'll tell you why. You should, you feel like you may not have the skills to do that. Well, we can actually fix that barrier too. May not have a knowledge of plants. We have got that too. And you may think that it's too expensive having to get planters and different containers, and there are ways around that as well. So we live in particular zones. The country is divided into zones, and we are in zone 6, which you can see is this medium green color. We are in zone 6. So in zone 6, planting gardens should be done in the month of March and April. You can start them in the house, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Okay, so when you are starting certain seeds, you want to start them in the house where you can control the temperature. Unfortunately, when there are when the temperature is kind of going back and forth, it's a little bit more difficult. So starting it in the house is good, and then moving outside after into a container or a planter on the outside, or an actual garden on the outside is good to do. And that way you can start the plants at a certain time of the year and guarantee that you will have a better outcome than if you were to start it directly outside with the possibility of frost. Okay, so some of the things that are great starters at this time of the year would be cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens, spinach, Swiss chard, kale, and Chinese cabbage. And if you want to start some other types of vegetables, there are other types of vegetables that may be started in the month of March and moved outside a little bit later on, like leeks, onions, and scallions, beets, turnips, and radish. That is by no means the end of the list, but it is definitely some examples of what can be started during the month of March and April. Okay, so as again, this is a great time to actually start purchasing the seeds. You can go to a garden center like Home Depot or Lowe's, or you can go to some growers online. There are plenty of growers online. Here are some examples, one called Burpee, another one called Urban Farmer, and the Organic Seed Alliance is another good resource, and of course, Amazon. But other than that, if you know somebody who grew plants last year, you can go to them and ask them for some seeds. And that way you know that, especially if you had some of their produce, you know that their produce was very good. Okay, so I just want to let you know that really to germinate seeds, all you really need to have are good seeds and water. Not just water, but oxygen and the correct temperature and space to grow. So these are things that are most necessary, but you need to definitely start off with good seeds. Okay, other than that, you can actually germinate or start seeds in dirt. Some people do that. They can start it in a paper towel, um, where you can control the moisture by pouring or spraying water on the paper towels, keeping it moist, keeping it in a container, not a container, but a paper towel, as well as having, a kitchen cloth or a sponge where you can, again, can control the water. But remember, it's important to plant twice as many seeds as you need, because there is a possibility that some of them may be bad seeds or may rot if you are watering too much. Um, so it's important to plant twice as many seeds. So in looking at starting a vegetable garden, don't be afraid because you have limited space. Don't be afraid to start the garden in a organic pot or a container, a recycled container, where you can start the plant and then transfer it to the ground, or maybe leave it in that container on your patio or on your balcony. You can definitely grow organic. You could definitely supplement your vegetable bill by growing as much as you can yourself, as well as decreasing your expenses. Please note that it is not expensive to start one of these gardens. Seeds are inexpensive, containers are inexpensive, and you can actually start that yourself in your own garden. There may be information coming up soon where we will have an afternoon program to talk about how you can start your garden in a little bit more detail than what I'm going through today, and know that it is definitely possible. Happy Sabbath, everyone, and enjoy sowing your seed.